Welcome to The Drive with your automotive experts and hosts, Lauren Fix and Karl Brauer. Each week we deliver the latest breaking news, vehicle reviews, and inside look at what's happening in the automotive world. Buckle up, it's time to hit the road with The Drive.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. I'm Lauren Fix.
And I'm Karl Brauer, and we are back again for another exciting episode, right, Lauren? We've got a great guest this time.
Yep, and then he's a return guest and a good friend, and he's working on a very unique project. Michael Harley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back on, guys. It's a pleasure.
So tell us what you're up to.
I've mentioned on the previous show, I'm working on something called XP1. And XP1 is an all-new PC-based driving simulation. It's built on patented technology. We're working on this thing for 10 years. Wow. And in a nutshell, every racing sim out there is based on arcade technology, which uses force feedback. We built ours on a physics-based technology. We literally rendered the car in its own environment. And as a result, it drives just like a real car. So it's a driver training tool. So we have authentic vehicle dynamics that enable everyone from new and learning drivers to seasoned professional racers to safely develop, refine, and perfect their driving skills within a controlled digital environment. There are no crashes. Even if you do crash, let me rephrase that, you don't have to pay for damage. So you can go out to the racetrack and practice, and you have to pay for guardrails and tires,
gas, damage.
Or you can take your teenage driver out on the public roads and you have to worry about insurance claims. Or you can have a senior citizen that hasn't been behind the wheel for 5 years, wants to jump back on the wheel, but you don't want to do that on public roads. But XP1 allows you to train driving, behavior. And it has a real steering feel, real vehicle response, and the driver feedback is all authentic. So anyone can drive it. You don't have to be a gamer. You don't have to be a professional race car driver. You can literally jump behind the wheel and treat it just like you drive a real car.
Okay, I got a couple questions. My husband's a professional racer and his mother is a senior driver who has not driven in 2 years and she wants to drive. Driving is crazy at 88, which I'm saying hard pass. But so we don't have a sim rig. And there's a million rigs out there you can buy. You can make your own. What do you recommend for someone, whether you're not a professional racer, maybe you're a senior, like you said, many of us have new drivers in the house. Like, what do you buy? I mean, what's the equipment look like?
That's an excellent question. And everyone from Paul, who's a professional race car driver, to, your in-laws or your mother, the challenge right now, everyone thinks that you have to go out and spend $10,000 to $15,000 on a rig. And that's not true. We built XP1 to run on a moderate PC, just a regular personal computer, and you buy a wheel and a pedal, and that could cost you as little as a Logitech set for about $300. You could bolt it to the kitchen table, and your 85-year-old mother can drive this just as if she drive a real car. And at the same time, Paul could jump behind this thing and practice understeer, oversteer, threshold braking, trying different lines around the track. So the idea was to build a simulation that's so accurate, it's industrial grade. And we're hoping to eventually sell the technology to the racing teams and the OEs for ADAS.
Oh, nice. For ADAS is for the safety systems, for those that...
For the ADAS, for the safety systems.
Advanced Driver Assist Systems, in case you want to know what that actually stands for. I think it's important to really talk about the actual capabilities of this experience. The word simulator doesn't feel good because it is an experience. And I've driven it now multiple times. I've driven the most recent version very recently. And I was on, of course, their beautiful rig that probably costs more than $300, but you don't need that, as Michael said. And it's really just incredible because you get the average person to hop on a typical driving simulator and they crash almost immediately. And the reason they crash almost immediately is that none of what they've done for the past 5, 10, 40 years as a driver pertains to most driving simulators. All that stuff is useless. Progressive steering and sensing, grip and sensing brake thresholds. All that means nothing in a simulator because you're getting either no feedback or feedback that feels completely artificial and reactions from the car that are completely artificial from your inputs. That's not the case with XP1. Again, I've driven it multiple times.
Like we played in the 80s.
No, it feels like everything that you would do in a real car, you do on this one, and you don't crash because it all makes sense. There's this on-off switch nature to the average simulator, whether it's how much braking or how much steering input you're giving. And that's why you spin constantly on these simulators, is because you think, well, I need more turning and I need more turning and nothing's happening. Now everything's happening and I'm spinning, because those fine gradations of input, these average simulators can't handle. They don't know what to do with. And XP1 has, again, I don't know how they did it. Mike just said it was a 10-year in the making and all like that, but they have managed to, it's kind of like they say, decoding the human genome. They've decoded the driving genome and dynamic genome of how a vehicle goes down the road and responds to driver input. And it feels just like it does in a real car. And it's very frustrating, because I think the average person, well, that's what all these simulators, no, they don't. Yeah. Please drive a typical driving simulator and then drive this back to back, and you will be astonished. Trust me.
Well, that's good. That's good, because we've done the sims.
And Karl, I want to add real quick before we run out of time, is you can go to xp1drive.com and download a free test drive. The full product's available for a free test drive.
I'm writing this down right now. XP1, what is it?
Drive.com.
xp1drive.com. And so if you've got any kind
as soon as we're done.
And if you've got any kind of rig at your house, even just a basic wheel and pedal setup, like you're saying, Mike, you can make this, you can plug, down those to your PC. Those are hooked to your PC. You're going to experience what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
This is fabulous stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, xpdrive.com. I would recommend
XP1drive.com.
Sorry, I got it written down.
Drive, xp1drive.com. I'd recommend anyone who's interested in this product to, or just in experiencing something that doesn't require being out in a physical car, but still feels like you're driving a real physical car, to give it a try.
Cool. We'll be right back after this break.
Yeah, we'll be right back with more on The Drive with Lauren and Karl, and Michael will be hanging with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl, and today our special guest, Michael Harley. We just finished talking about XP1, and now we're going to talk about kind of the antithesis of, in my opinion, XP1, which is this very realistic driving simulator. But we've got the state of California, which kind of specializes in unrealistic things. And in this case, they are going to fight tooth and nail from what has happened in the kind of government regulatory world over the last year that a lot of us are already familiar with. We've lost the $7,500 federal tax credit that we had that was helping to try to sell more electric vehicles. And a lot of people, were mad about that. Certainly a lot of people in California were mad about that. So the plan now for California is to utilize a $200 million incentive program that's just based in California to give back the $7,500 federal credit. Except now it'll be the state credit coming from the state of California. So that's their goal.
Isn't the state in the red? Isn't the state upside down? Don't they owe more money than they're taking in?
Lauren,
California loves to spend money.
They don't have. We wouldn't do that.
And it goes in, it disappears. Look at the high-speed rail. Look at the homeless budgets.
Yeah, billions of dollars. And honestly, in the spectrum of disappearing money in the state of California, $200 million, that's a rounding error. So that's what they're going to do, is they're going to apparently reenact or reinstate the $7,500 credit, at least if you live in the state of California. Now, we know that they're also going to be fighting a lot of things like the greenhouse gas emissions ruling that isn't going to require. That's gone. Yeah, that one's gone federally, but now the state, which has been trying to, regulate their own emission standards since 1970, when they were given that right, and that turned into 13 states going with them, which turned into them essentially dictating national emission standards, because the car companies couldn't give up those 14 states, including California. So they're going to push back against that too. So that's what's all ahead.
That'll be interesting, because that hasn't gone to the Supreme Court yet. So the greenhouse gases are gone. The EV mandate's gone. The only thing that's still hanging out in the wings, even though it's been completely deflated, is California Air Resources Board, where California, like you said, runs the rules for the environment and what car manufacturers are supposed to make. That's gone, but they're still fighting to say we were here first, and we want to make the rules for the other 49 states. So that we're waiting. It's on the Supreme Court docket. We're waiting for the Supreme Court to come in and say, no, this is unconstitutional. California Air Resources Board, you can do whatever you want there, but you cannot control other states. That's the final nail in the coffin for California, to call the laws.
And also,
Yeah.
it's important to note this $200 million incentive program. It only targets first-time EV buyers, and it requires automakers to match the state funds dollar for dollar. And
I don't think they're going to do that. They're taking a loss in every car now. Why would they want to take a bigger loss?
Now the automakers have to once again dig into their pockets and to incentivize something that costs them a lot of money.
Well, they'll probably do. What's going to be ironic is they used to sell cars in California that were only available in California, Fiat 500e, and a lot of these compliance cars for the state of California. They're going to not sell cars. Now they're going to produce EVs, and they're going to say, we're not shipping the EV to California because in all the other 49 states, we just sell it at whatever people want to pay for it. In California, every time someone buys one, it costs us more money and we get a smaller profit margin. So they're not going to sell them there.
That's a good angle, Carl, because I don't think people realize it. So you could sell it just in California, but instead we'll just sell it in every other state. And if we sell some, we do. And if we don't, we don't.
Yeah.
So it's interesting on this greenhouse gas thing with the start-stop technology that literally everyone hates, no matter where you stand politically. People do not like it. It's universal dislike. They're putting it in because there was a 1 mile per gallon credit given to them with the corporate average fuel economy. They had to average a certain amount of fuel economy. That's out the door. All the penalties are out the door. And that 1 mile per gallon is still hanging out there. So when I heard this come through Lee Zeldin and the EPA, I was very excited because I hate start-stop technology. I contacted every single car brand. I sent an email to all the people that we know people at every brand. I got a reply, and every brand, it was almost like they had a canned answer, was, yes, all of our 26 models will remain with start-stop technology. We're not sure about 27s. We're still looking over the law now that it's been signed, and we really don't know what we're going to do, but some of our customers do like it. Really? Name me one person that likes start-stop, because I don't care. Everyone I've talked to goes, I got to shut this off. Some cars you can't, which infuriates customers, and then they don't want to buy that brand again.
Yeah, it's true. All right, well, we're going to take a break here and pay some bills. We will be back after the break with The Drive with Lauren and Carl. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Carl, and this segment is brought to you by iSeeCars.com. That's where I'm the executive analyst, and we do all sorts of great consumer advice and insights based on industry data. We, of course, have all the listings for cars across the country. If you're looking for everything from close to your house to anywhere in the nation, you can filter on distance for research, but you can also see all the insights we've done on which cars are going up in value, dropping in value, which colors hold their value the best, which cars last the longest. It's all there at iSeeCars.com. So let's talk about more EV stuff, guys, because we were getting into it in the last segment. And we were talking about
the impact is huge.
Yeah, well, California, they're going to push one direction, but I always feel like there's a basic concept here that so many people seem to forget, and that is market demand. Okay, the market is going to buy what the market's going to buy, and it doesn't matter how many incentives you offer. Ultimately, you're just costing people money, taxpayers typically, to try to sell cars that otherwise wouldn't sell. And the manufacturers have noticed this, and I think a lot of people want to act like, well, there was this change in policy, and that's the only reason that this all happened. And it's like, no, before there was an election in 2025, or fall of 24, the market had already plateaued for EVs and had already started to struggle at around 8%, which I saw coming years earlier. And these things have added to that momentum. But we know that there was already, we'd seen it for years, there was already kind of a tolerance level that doesn't go above 8% with the $7,500 credit. Now we've had the credit gone for 6 months, and it's down to half that. It's 4% without the credit, because who mostly cares about the credit? Not wealthy people who are going to buy whatever they want to buy. It's people who need that $7,500 to make a difference in their buying decision. And those are the higher volume vehicles. And those are the ones that have fallen. We've just done a recent report shown that they've fallen in price, trying to make up for the fact that the incentives are gone. The price on high volume EVs has all come down since September because they got to basically make up for the $7,500 hole that disappeared.
And who wants to buy a used EV? That's like buying a used anything that's electronics. You don't know what you're getting.
Well,
but
yeah,
Mike, you reached out to one of our favorite brands, Lamborghini.
Mm-hmm. And I reached out to Lamborghini and just to find out what's going on, because they had the Lamborghini Lanzador, which was their 100% EV, and they just canceled it. And Winkleman's the CEO of that company, and they basically said, the truth is we're listening to our customers. And Carl, we've had this discussion offline that someone who's buying a high performance sports car wants the sound. They want the vibration. They want everything that goes along with a combustion engine, whether it's a V10, a V8, a V12, even a flat six. that is what is, it's part of the ownership experience, and the driving experience is the emotional gratification.
Yes.
And electric cars, of course, they whiz 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. Then what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm with you because I just reviewed an Aston Martin Vanquish, 812 horsepower. It's like 756 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Same 3 seconds, 0 to 60. But the sound coming out the exhaust pipe, who cares what audio system's in the car? It was like a sweet emotion. It was like, yes, you know.
They shouldn't even
That's
come
my
on the
cup of-
radio. Why
No,
even
why
turn the
bother?
radio on? Why even come with
Yeah.
Windows?
No, it's 100% true. And, thank God that like Porsche has backed off the Boxster Cayman thing. Cause I had one of
Yes.
those back like 6 months ago. And I was just so disappointed. All I did as I drove the car was thrill in how much fun I was having and then get sad knowing it was the last one being made. Well, that decision was reversed and now they're not turning them all into an electric vehicle. And we talked a little bit off during the break, Mike, and it's like, yeah, they're still selling like Cayennes and bigger vehicles. It's like, you know what, you can sell a few of those, not many, but you can sell some of those to people who want to show off that they're driving an electric car, Taycans and Cayennes and stuff like that. And they're wealthy people who have 14 cars and they don't care if they have another one that runs on electricity that looks great to everyone who they drive by and says, see, I'm not polluting the air. You can't sell a performance-oriented car like a Lamborghini or a Porsche Boxster or a Porsche Cayman to people because they want to look good to all their friends. Those people don't buy those cars to look good and look like they're saving the planet. They buy those cars, like you said, Mike, because they want passion. Like you said, they want sound, Lauren. And you're not getting any of that with an electric car if
That
you're going
emotion's
super
missing.
fast in a straight line. Yeah.
Right. Emotion.
By the way, if you miss any of this show and you want to hear more, especially about Mike's XP1 Drive sim system, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is the Drive Car Show, also on social media, because we will be putting a link in there to Mike's XP1drive.com site so you can try the trial out, which is very cool, Mike. Thanks for offering that to our listeners.
Thanks.
Yeah, speaking of emotion, right? That's where you drive that vehicle, and it's like I'd rather drive that simulator or that driving experience than drive an actual real world electric car because one of them feels more engaging than the other. Okay, and it's funny to look at some of the other lists that we've seen as far as vehicles that are going away or have been pared back. Right, we lost the ID Buzz, one of the hottest cars of the year a year and a half ago. We lost the F-150 Lightning, the car that was going to, become like the new truck that was going to, finally be this great high-selling EV. Because how many F-150s they sell? Well, now there's going to be an electric version. Look at it go. All these vehicles are getting canceled because or delayed. Yeah, the Dodge Charger. These vehicles cannot be sold easily to people on a high volume level, and they're realizing it, thankfully, and they're not going to be as aggressive about this EV process. And by the way, a lot of people are like, well, what about China? What about China? And I just have to keep reminding them. It's like, well, until you want to pull minimum wage and labor unions and overtime and workers' rights, if you want to pull all that stuff and then align with an authoritative government, then we can compete with China and build electric cars like they do. Well, actually, we still couldn't because we don't have all the rare earth materials like they locked up
and they don't meet our safety standards anyhow. So how about that?
And, yeah, all these other things. So we can't, China can build electric cars. That's what they've set themselves up to do. We should be building internal combustion cars. That's what we've set ourselves up to do as far as our resources and our capabilities. Anyways,
we were talking. I was going to say are we out of time? Or are we good?
Yes, we are close to taking a break here. So we are going to take a quick break and pay some bills, and we will be right back with The Drive with Lauren and Karl.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Our special guest this week is Michael Harley. We have another special guest coming in just a few minutes. You will be excited to hear from Josh Hancock. He is our celebrity Hollywood car reporter. But in the meantime, this segment is brought to you by Car Coach Reports. You want to cut through the noise? That's my news channel. We give you a deeper dive in some of these subjects. Real car news and our real reviews are on Car Smarts. There's no spin. You can watch Car Coach Reports on YouTube, the full reviews on Car Smarts, and get the facts before you buy. Okay, before we went to the break, Mike, you had some additional thoughts on these electric vehicles, so I'll let you pick it up from here.
I was just going to say, we always talk about product market fit and assume that 8% of the consumer market is the right fit for an EV. And that seems to be the number we're looking for. So 90%, it isn't
If
the
we're at
right.
$7,500, if we have a $7,500 credit, then
Right.
it falls to
Yeah,
4%
you're being
without. Sorry.
motivated. Yeah.
But we also, I want to touch on the consumer app or the commercial applications. Amazon Slate, that's still going forward. The Ford UAV platform, that's still on track. And there are excellent use cases for electric vehicles.
True.
There are.
But just using so much of the government resources and so much cash to force these down people's throats when it's not the right product market fit. It
Agreed.
just doesn't
It
work.
doesn't work on big rigs either.
Right.
Hydrogen
trucks.
seems to work pretty good for big trucks. Toyota seems to be the one who's really got their head on straight with this. They're taking
Yeah.
methane gas from a dump site that's near the port in Long Beach. They're converting it to methane, and they're putting it in, or propane, and they're putting it into the trucks, or I forget. I think it's, or is it hydrogen? It's hydrogen they're using. And they're using hydrogen to go from the port to the warehouse, and they're doing that run back and forth. That's a great use case. Trying to get everybody to switch to that type of thing, there's no infrastructure. We have the same exact problem with EVs. Their infrastructure is not there. You're in Boise, I'm in Buffalo. You don't charge in 0-degree temperatures. It's not going to work.
Yeah. A level 3 charge
Not at all.
speed becomes level 2 at those temperatures, and it takes
You
hours
might as
to
well
get
just
the,
plug
get
it
the
in the
juice
wall
in.
and go home.
Right.
Walk home.
Walk
Well,
home. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In the cold.
In the cold.
And speaking of like bad fits, right? We also had an issue a couple of years ago where we didn't have a good fit for car production because first we lost it because of COVID that shut down the plants. And when that happened, we lost access to the computer chips. All those computer chip companies, it's like, well, we got to sell these to somebody. And guess what? Just as you're shutting down your automotive plants to build new cars, they're ramping up the orders for Xboxes and laptops because everyone's stuck inside and there's nothing else to do. So they got into the queue for the chips. And then, after 6-8 months, it was like, okay, we're ready to build cars again. And all the chip makers were like, sorry, chips are spoken for. And
Well,
it
because
caused
they're
a
also
huge
legacy chips. Yeah. And they're completely
Right.
different than like what's in your phone.
Yeah, they had to switch over to doing car or to do non-car related chips. And then it's like, we're not going to switch back to those. You guys already bailed on us. So that caused a restriction in new car production. That caused a bump in new car prices, which caused people to run to the used car world. That caused a bump in used car prices. We got to watch it all in real time at IC Cars. It was fascinating, a little scary, but mostly fascinating to watch in real time. And we still never recovered from that, right? I mean, guys,
We
you
have
guys
another
remember,
chip shortage coming. Did you hear about that? Next period?
well, that's the thing. We're
That's
already
huge.
cranked up on prices, and now it looks like we could have another problem because AI is going to, basically circumvent or prioritize a lot of chip production potentially, and we're going to lose the car chips again, and we won't be able to produce
Again.
cars.
That means used car prices go up, new car prices go up. And you think there's cars sitting on lots now? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that, Mike, with you're working in computers a lot too. Are you seeing that at all?
Yeah, I mean, the big problem is that if you look at the pandemic, the automakers basically just stopped ordering chips because they reduced production. So the suppliers just went and found new demand. Now we have AI centers that are willing to pay more for the chips, and they're almost forcing the automakers out of this thing.
Interesting.
So if you can sell your DDR4, whatever they are, to an AI company for 25% more, all of a sudden Ford and GM and Chrysler, those guys are all forced out. And so what they
Makes
have to
sense.
do is they have to figure out some way to, these LPDDR4 chips will be sunsetted, which means they're phased out, and there's a new DDR5 that comes out. So what they have to do is set up their production, almost buy in advance, buy futures, and
Yes.
line
Yeah.
these things up. And so it's very, very interesting. So it does not align 100% with what happened with the chip shortage in COVID, but that was a taste of what could be. And
We don't need to see that
people
again.
don't
Car
realize
prices
how
went through the roof,
complex.
and then they lost the resale value. And Carl, you back that up with the data that you work with at IC Cars.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of a roller coaster. The prices went up, and then you had people who were foolish and they were like, well, I can buy a car and always flip it for more money. And so a bunch of people started doing that. And it's like, well, you could for a while. And then all of a sudden, like so many things, like so many markets, that spun the other way. And there were a lot of people caught holding bags of higher priced cars. Remember, Carvana almost went out of business because they had
Twice now.
bought all that. Yeah, they bought all that inventory, and then all of a sudden they couldn't sell it for what they paid for it because the transition from buying to selling, the prices had changed. So it's always tricky when you have disruptions to automotive production, and if we have that again with these AI chips, prioritizing or pushing out automotive chip production, that could get really ugly.
Yeah, I fear that we're going to see prices go up. Prices are up high right now on cars. Now with the removal of the greenhouse gases, removing that start-stop technology should save us about $2,400 a car. The big beautiful bill should help reduce costs of vehicles down to another $1,000. I know people say, what about the tariffs? It's pennies. You're not even going to see it. They're going to absorb the difference because the components they make here and assembly here offsets the little bit of the difference, and they're bringing production here, more jobs, more money. So as we saw in the State of the Union a couple weeks ago, it looks like we're in a better position now than we were 2 years ago, and I think it's only going to get better from here. Car brands are well aware that you want cars that are under $20,000, and I think Slate is the first one coming to market saying we can do that, and I think we'll see other brands come along too.
And I'm going to make a prediction here really quick. I'm going to argue that the size of the infotainment screen has peaked. I think we're going to see more buttons and manual physical controls because people want to be tactile. They want to. When we were learning how to drive, the three of us, not to date us, we could drive down the road and change the radio without taking our hands off the steering wheel.
And the push
We knew
button
how to
AM,
fast forward the
FM.
cassette deck. I'm not going to say 8-track tape. We could
I didn't have
fast forward the
8 tracks.
cassette.
I was cassettes.
But my point is, consumers are pushing back, and we want manual buttons, we want levers, we want switches, and infotainment, which is a chip hogging device. Yes. Hopefully, maybe we've peaked and we don't need as many DDR5s in 2029. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be nice. And what kind of you touched on, Lauren, no matter what, is it'd be nice if we were building all this stuff in this country, because one of the problems wasn't just that we lost chip kind of priority, but that they were all made in another country and we were totally at their beck and call. We were totally under their control. And I think one of the things we're trying to do with the tariffs and everything else is not be so dependent on other countries for vital things, medical, technology. These are the things that we should be doing in this country so we don't have to be at the mercy of other countries. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back with more on The Drive with Lauren and Karl.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment is brought to you by Issy Tire Socks. If you're slipping on ice, put on these tire socks and you will get no stress, no fuss, just traction that works. You can put them in your trunk, air them out, reuse them every year for years to come. They're available now at Amazon and Walmart. It's Issy Tire Socks. That's really Issy, I-S-S-E, Issy. Now we have another guest joining us, and if you're listening, you're going to hear him. But if you're watching on our YouTube channel, The Drive Car Show, you will be able to see Josh Hancock, our Hollywood car reporter, joining us with Mike Harley, who is staying with us for the rest of the hour. And, of course, Karl Brauer, my co-host. So, Karl, what are we talking about this time? This is going to be a fun one. You guys are going to love this.
Yeah, this is a little more lighthearted maybe than what we talked about before, although maybe not for some people. Don't be trashy. This is advice we should all be taking. Don't be trashy. And if you're going to be trashy, don't be trashy in Hilton Head, because apparently Hilton Head is so anti-trash, and apparently really it's anti-rat infestation, because they don't want that happening in their lovely city, that if they consider you to be leaving excess trash in or around your car as it's parked in a public area, they can charge you up to $500 and or put you in a jail for up to a month for having a trashy car.
Wow. That's crazy. That means your McDonald's bag that you taught, everyone has stuff in their car, right? Everyone does. Mm-hmm. But $500? Who's making these judgment calls?
What prompted this? Do they have
They have Hilton Head, South Carolina has a rat.
Okay.
Well, that's
tourism. It's a tourism.
Yeah, that's a good question, Josh.
Don't like rats.
I suspect that they are getting a certain amount of people who maybe are living in their cars or who are just abusing or they're a premium town. They want to be a premium town. Yeah. And I think this, in my opinion, they're not going to say this, but this is a backdoor way to encourage people who otherwise live in their cars and make a complete mess of their cars and themselves to not be in that town, because other towns won't be fining you for trash in your car and putting you in jail, but this town will. And I think that's what this is. Oh my gosh, yeah. That kind of standard in Los Angeles. Oh my God.
All of our RVs where people are cooking. I just want to say that one of the biggest dealers here in town gets, on average, 2 cars a week that have been rodent infested.
Really?
And I was there. There was a brand new Lincoln Nautilus, and she hadn't broken it in yet. It had 600 miles on it, and she pressed the button in the morning, and the Christmas tree just lit up. Nothing would happen. They're having to put a new wiring harness in the car.
Oh, because they wrap the wiring harnesses with soy, and it's sweet to rodents.
Yes.
Like squirrels, mice, moles, you
There's
name it.
there's a certain year, it's like 2002 or something, where we started to use soy, which is delicious, of course. I've tried it.
I eat my wiring harness all the time.
When I'm in the car and I don't have any leftover food that I've tossed in the back, I just grab a piece of wire.
Right?
And it's quite delicious.
Yeah. Yank that kick panel in the footwell and just get down there.
This is just one dealership. Think about it.
Wow.
At how many people. And I have had people call me here in town with problems. And it's funny because my friend has a Honda Element, and then he bought a new Escape, and they attacked the Escape, but they left the Element alone.
Wow. My daughter used to live in New York City, and she had a Mini, and she said that across the street there was a brownstone. She was living in a rental apartment, and she said she would never park in front of the brownstone because the rats were like, you could put a leash on them, and she said they will literally go into your car and eat your interior. And I'm like, okay, this is why I'm no longer in New York City.
One of the reasons.
One of the many, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think you have that in Boise, do you, Mike?
No. But, let's get back to Hilton Head. I mean, does this give them the rights to look in the back seat if you have tinted windows? Are they allowed to go into your trunk? I mean, is this, and if you read the rules, I read it this morning doing my homework, it's subjective.
Yeah.
Really?
The police officer it's a subjective law that they can determine that, guess what, that car's dirtier than that car. So it's a real challenge.
So you've had one of your little like peppermint things at the bowl in the restaurant, and you just threw it on the passenger seat, but they don't like you, and it's you got to trash the car. We're putting you in jail again. That only adds to my theory because of the subjective nature, Mike. That car over there, it's a Porsche Taycan, and it's pretty messy. But that car over there, it's an '89 Fairmont, and it looks like someone's living in it. So they're about the same level of messiness, but we're not going to necessarily go after one of those cars.
And we want Hilton Head to be a nice place.
With expensive cars and people that pay too much. That sounds like Hollywood a little bit of LA there.
Yeah. So I think that's what's driving this, but I like
this doesn't go across the country. I can't imagine that everyone go, well, that worked for Hilton Head. Let's carry that through Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, LA, just San Francisco, just every single city starting to do this. It spread. So while we're currently laughing at Hilton Head, let's hope that this concept doesn't spread because think of all the people we know.
If it does have the intent that Karl is alluding to, then it really could be picked up by other cities. It's a tool to get rid of people living in their cars off the street.
Well, what's funny to me, I know that the jails would all fill up. But what cracks me up is to think about the people, and we do all know them. And I, like you, Lauren, I want to make it clear, I am not one of them. I'm assuming nobody on this show right now is. But the people we all know who look like they live in their car, and they don't. And now they're, if you're one of those people and you live in Hilton Head, and you've got like a really big house, and you're like the wealthy guy, you just happen to have really bad habits about keeping your car clean. They might be giving you a subtle hint: get the hell out of our town too. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break and pay some bills, and we will be right back with another segment. This time, we're going to talk about cars from Hollywood. So we'll be right back with more Lauren and Karl. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl and all our guests that we have this time. And this segment is brought to you by Karl Brauer Cars, which that happens to be my YouTube channel. And I'm putting up videos on a regular basis, a couple times a week. Just drove the Land Rover Defender Octa and had a lot of fun and got a lot of great footage of that thing doing crazy off-road stuff, taking on giant bugs, the whole thing. So be sure to check out Karl Brauer Cars on YouTube. Now, this segment, we're going to focus on something very fun, which is Hollywood and the cars that are going on in Hollywood and the movies that are going on in Hollywood that are related to cars. And Josh, you're our expert. So please, as our Hollywood car correspondent, take us away.
Well, I'd like to know where you got the name of your YouTube channel. Makes no sense to me. But anyway,
I know. It took weeks of research. I was like, man, what am I going to call this? But I got there.
So I want to do a quick follow-up to a story we did the last time I was on the show. They've rebooted the Rockford Files. Well, they just cast it. David Boreanaz, who is from SEAL Team and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If you saw a picture of him, you'd know who he was. He looks
We'll put that on our
good.
YouTube channel so you can see
Yeah.
the Drive Car Show on YouTube. You'll be able to see what Josh is talking about.
Yeah. So Rockford gets out of jail. He's been put in jail for something he didn't do. He gets out. He has to start his life over. Here's the big one, because we talked about what he should drive.
Yeah.
They are looking for classic Firebirds. Now, whether they'll stick with that or not, because all of us agreed that that wasn't a good idea, right?
Well, I called it. I said that would be the coolest thing to do, but probably not make a lot of sense, because driving a classic Firebird as a detective would be like, I don't know, driving a Ferrari in Hawaii. You're just not going to blend in very well, and it'd be foolish.
Well, we all made our guesses. So in the research, I found out that they've done 2 other pilots in the past. And both pilots used classic Firebirds. One starred Vince Vaughn.
Oh, wow.
And the other one starred Dermot Mulrooney.
Oh, I like both of them. They're both very talented.
I think Vince Vaughn would have been great as James Garner.
He would have been.
Got that, But he's too tall for a Firebird, let's face it.
Yeah.
We'd have to get him a bigger car.
Yeah.
Also, I want to say that that F1, the movie, is getting a sequel. They've announced it. And a lot of people are like, well, wait a minute. How do you do a sequel to that movie? And if you've watched the movie, you kind of wonder, what do they do,
I don't know.
They bring him back again? I don't know.
Or does F1 start doing off-roading? Because that's where he was going, right? to Baja off-road.
I mean, Brad Pitt is 62. They brought him back.
That's not old. That's not old.
No, it's not old. But in the world of F1 drivers, is it old?
Yes, it's very old. Because Alonso's the
like
oldest.
3 times as old.
Alonso's what, 45? If you're an F1, if you're into F1, right. I'm a huge F1 fan.
The other one
that's an exception.
Is Days of Thunder.
Oh yeah, with Tom Cruise.
That's also coming back. Now these are both Bruckheimer movies.
They're going the racing route. We like it.
They're going the racing route. I think, since F1 did so well, plus all these other biopics, Maserati, Ferrari, they've all done pretty well. They've made their money. And so, we're going to see more and more of this because Hollywood doesn't have anything creative. Look, I think F1 was pretty creative. It was fairly well done. They
enjoyed it.
Criticized for details, but in the big picture, it was like Ford versus Ferrari. There were a lot of mistakes in Ford versus Ferrari, but it was a very entertaining movie.
Great movie.
It was made for television, as we used to say.
And I just love it when we have car themed stuff. So there's a movie out right now called Crime 101. And that's with Chris Helmsworth, Halle Berry, Nick Nolte, and Mark Ruffalo.
Wow.
And this is a very, very heavy car movie. And the director wanted to give it the feel of a 70s, 80s rough and tumble. They didn't use any green screen. They were all over LA. His main cars were a 68 Camaro, a Challenger with a Hemi, a Chrysler 300 with a Hemi, and then he graduates to a Cadillac CT5V.
Nice.
Wow.
So
great stuff. All right. Well,
I was supposed to screen this and I got a little sick, so I didn't get to, but I've talked to a couple of people on the film to talk about the process, and they're like, we did stuff. And by the way, Crime 101 relates to the road in LA, the 101.
Okay.
We're gonna come, we want to come back and talk about that in a future episode. So we'll have Josh Hancock back, we'll have Mike Harley back, and my co-host Karl Brauer. I will talk to you next week. Actually, we're going to Munich. I'll see you there.
You've been listening to The Drive, your trusted source for the latest car news, expert reviews, and real insights into the automotive world. Thanks for riding along with us today. You can check out the entire archive of every episode on our YouTube channel, The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and join the conversation by leaving your comments. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy the ride, and we'll see you right back here on The Drive.